Welcome to the garage, I'm Rob, and today we're going to be installing oil lines on the 428 turbo build. Let's get into it. Alright, so here we're at our little workbench. We'll go over how to make this. I've already made mine. This is the return line that goes from the oil, turbo to the oil pan. So I'm gonna go over and make that. So for now, we can get these out of the way. In your kit, wherever you order from, you're gonna get a hose, something like this, and you'll get fittings that are connected like this, whether they're 90 or just straight like this one. I'm gonna use this one for an example, but straight. And you just untwist. This piece is the piece you want to connect to the hose, and this is the piece that goes in here once it is connected to the hose. And it will make a seal so there's no leaks. So your hose comes with like electrical tape on it. If you cut it like I had to make this one, it will fray. So I recommend putting electrical tape back on it so it makes it easier to put this on the other end, on the opposite end that you've already done. So the way this goes on, it actually screws on, but it goes the opposite way of what you would think. So it goes counterclockwise. And you have to apply pressure with this hand, kind of push it on, and just twist. And that's how you do it. Now, they have AN wrenches. I highly recommend getting, you're gonna need this no matter what. So you have to get this. What you could do is just kind of hold it with the wrench and use this hand to turn and apply pressure inward until it's all the way in. Now, I'm not going to bore you with putting this all the way in. You don't need that. Then the way you install this, you need a pair of vice grips, and you need a set of these like soft jaws that just go right on. Then you would take your hose and you would put it in your vise, and that's what these jaws are for. Just look up like AN soft jaws and you'll find them, and they're made to hold these. Helps if your jaws connected to the table, mine is not. Then you would take the other fitting and you screw it in. Now this one goes in how it's supposed to, right? How you lefty loosey. And then you would take your AN wrench and just tighten it. Until you can't tighten no more. And again, I'm not going to go through the whole process and bore you with this. Is the gist of it because I already made mine. And then you'll have one end. You do want to make sure that this is further down. Now, it don't have to be all the way down, but as far as you can get it where you can't tighten it anymore. And then you would just connect this end to one fitting, have your other fitting on another end, measure it, cut it, do the same on this side, and you will get an AN line for your oil return or whatever you're making this for. They have, as long as you have the right type hose, you can use it for anything, coolant, oil, anything, as long as you have the right type hose. So what we're gonna do now is we'll get this installed. So now we're gonna install our return line from our turbo fitting down to our oil pan. Now I didn't go over this, but there's just a fitting on the oil pan. You just drill this out, like a tree bit or a step bit, whatever you want to call it. And then you can get a weld-on fitting, or you can get a fitting that's just a bolt on the other inside the oil pan. And it has two washers. The one I have had like rubber on the washers for like a gasket. I also added gasket maker to those for a more better seal, just in case. But it's pretty simple. All you have to do is make sure it's up high, so you want it above your oil level or it's not going to drain out properly. So Other than that, you just twist these onto the fittings. They go on pretty nice. I did seem to have made this a little bit too long, but I think we can get it to work. It should be just fine. There you go. Just like that. Pretty much good to go. You just need to give it a good tighten. This one might be a little tricky. Look, there we go. Now, as far as I understand my research, you just have to get these snug and they should seal. So they're pretty snug and it's pretty good. Now, this should flow. I did make this a little too long, but I still think this should just flow right in there. You're gonna have the pressure pushing it. I think it'll be fine. So other than that, I mean, that's it. That's how you install that. It's that simple. Okay, now for the feed, you have two different ways you can do this. I think one of the most common ways is this like T contraption, I guess. You would take the oil pressure gauge out the back of your block, put this in there, put the oil pressure back in here, and then this will feed into your turbo. I didn't like this idea. I didn't like the way it looked. I just didn't like it. What we're gonna go with is an oil sandwich plate by GlowShift. Now, there are definitely cons and pros to this. You don't get filtered oil. It's just straight oil. You don't get no filtered oil. It goes through the feed line back into your turbo before it goes through the filter. So I've been doing my research. That's what I've learned. A benefit of running this though is in order for us to run a oil pressure sensor for a gauge, we're gonna need this so that we can put the oil pressure sensor into here, do all the wiring so we can get an accurate gauge reading in the car when we're driving. That's for another video, but that's one of the reasons why we went with this sandwich plate. You're also gonna need your feed line. You need a 90 degree to go into the top of your turbo, or you might have fitment issues with your hood or anything else. So just get this 90 degree and you'll be fine. Just get it from the get-go. You're also going to need Teflon tape, the yellow kind, because it's oil resistant. We're going to have to block off the ports we're not using, and for safety, we're going to put a little bit on here as well. So we'll knock that out, we'll get that done. It's just an Allen key. All right, so I plugged these two because we're not gonna be using them raw. I left this one alone because that's where the sensor will eventually go. And then here is our feed line. So let's get into installing this, super easy. Okay, now for the sandwich filter. It might be hard for you guys to see, but this is where you would put your oil filter. I'm sorry if you guys can't see it, but it's pretty easy. I did put a little bit of oil. There's like this rubber seal right here. So I just put like a little bit of oil in there, lubricate like you would if you were installing an oil filter. And then you have this piece, which this threads in where your oil filter was thread in. And this is where your oil filter is gonna thread in when you put it on. And you can clock this however you want it before you tighten this down. So that's real nice. But now, there is a nut on there that you should snug down, like not super tight, just to snug, and you'll be good to go. I don't have a socket big enough to do it. Make sure you tighten that down before you start your car and do all that. Just snug, not super tight, just probably just needs like one turn with the ratchet and that's it. And then you would put your oil filter right here. Now for this, we do need to snug this down. I did forget to do it. It might have been easier to do it when it was off. It's about as tight as I can get it. So let's get this engine flipped around and I'll show you how to put this in top of your turbo. All right, so for this, we'll just bring up our line from behind the back end of our engine, make sure we're not caught anything. And just taking it goes on this fitting. It's the same thing, you just bolt it down, tighten her down, get your little wrench. All right, so where we're at with this line is I just kind of tucked it along here. This goes up, like we could just pull this out. This goes up here, so don't worry about that. And it just goes into our sandwich plate. It's not in the way of anything. Everything should be good. So we should be all good on that. Make sure you tighten down that sandwich plate. There's a little bolt on it. I'm definitely probably gonna put Teflon tape on this just to be safe. Other than that, it's that simple to make a return line for your turbo and then a feed line. It's that simple. And like I said, there's a couple different options. I just really like this oil sandwich plate for the fact that we are going to need the oil pressure sensor. So other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Stay positive, like, subscribe, leave a comment as always, leave some feedback. Hope to catch you in the next one.